Beauty and the Beast. Tell me, did those words bring an onslaught of nostalgic memories that have flooded your mind? Don't you worry, I know exactly how you feel. Beauty and the Beast was one of those movies I used to watch repetitiously until it had sunken so deep and so far into the innermost parts of my brain that I could almost recite the entire movie. Alright, my memory's not that good, but I swear I used to watch it a lot, I'm not lying. Needless to say, this movie is definitely a core part of my childhood, a core part of my memories. Memories that till this day I hold dear to my heart. I too was once like you, falling victim to the manipulation of this movie though. Gaslit into believing that Gaston was the true villain, when in fact, it was the Beast. And yes, while Gaston was smug and egotistical and conceited and vain and vainglorious and whatever other adjective you wish to add. And yes, his views are definitely rather misogynistic, especially taking a glance at it with 2024 vision. But in this video, I hope to bring forth evidence that will persuade and convince you that regardless of his blatant flaws that we can see right in front of us, he is far from being the villain of the story. So you know the story of Beauty and the Beast, I know the story of Beauty and the Beast, we all know the story of Beauty and the Beast. However, let us refamiliarize ourselves with certain characters, starting off with Belle. Now Belle is the main protagonist of this story, a woman with insurmountable beauty. But she's far from just her looks, oh no, Belle is kind. Belle is sweet, Belle is intelligent, Belle is inquisitive, and as the initial song that acquaints us into this world of Belle tells us, she is different. With an unquenchable thirst for knowledge to explore the worlds of books, educate herself on different topics. Books that gave her an ability to escape her current existence, an existence where she felt confined in the small-mindedness of her town where people didn't see past their own lives. She was someone who knew there was more to the world. She was someone who knew she had more to offer, and that made her very different. Now you see, Belle was a prize because Belle was different, Belle was unique. Belle had the character, she had the heart, she had the beauty, she was a 3-in-1. All the men wanted to be with her and all the women wanted to be her. However, today we are going to be talking about one of those men, the infamous Gaston. Gaston's emphatically domineering personality is not one that can easily be forgotten. In actuality, when it comes to the actual film, I'll say he's one of the most memorable parts of it, particularly that song. I'm still in love with it. You've not heard of the Gaston song? You tell a lie, you cretinous heathen. The best song in history? It hit the Billboard 100, charted above Beyonce? Well, too bad I can't play it here, I don't want to get copyright striked. But don't worry, I'll do a quick acapella rendition for you so you know exactly how amazing it was. No one's thin like Gaston, fucking big like Gaston. Wait, what? You telling me those aren't the words? No, I swear those are the words. Anyways, whatever, you guys don't deserve to hear my excellent singing. I'll save that for the missus. Point being that Gaston was one of the most memorable parts of this movie. But as we all know, Gaston is far from perfect, at least in terms of his personality. And it's evidently clear that he's so emphatically pompous and up his own arse that it's hard to really defend him in terms of his characteristics. Simply put, Gaston is a man of his time. For better or worse, leaning far more towards worse. And if you're not aware, this film was based in 1750. You may be asking me, why am I displaying this information to you guys? Even if you're only somewhat familiar with history and the passages of time, you're likely aware that for the majority of history, men have been in rule, men have been in charge. A history where girls and boys have been taught that men are the ones who are capable, men are the ones who can achieve, men are the ones who should be in charge. I mean, it's only really been in recent times that there's been a push to empower women, that they can achieve just as much as their male counterparts. And as unfortunate as it is to say, for a majority of history, women really have been seen as a second-class citizen, lacking the same rights and privileges as their brothers, their uncles, their fathers. Now let's travel back to 1750, where a majority of people were probably illiterate, especially people who went in the higher class. On top of this is also a time, like I said, where women were given a distinct role in society. Belle was someone who didn't want to fit in the norms. Belle was someone who wanted to achieve greater. Belle was a woman and she loved to read, and she won't let anybody stop her from doing so, and I really want to exemplify how different she was from the norm. But Gaston takes notice to Belle, not because of her inquisitive nature, not because of her blissful charms, not because of her love for nature, not because of her love for the world. No, essentially he's just fully thinking with his second head, and he's like, damn, she's fine. I want me a piece of that. And he's very pestering in nature. He really wants to be with her. He thinks they're a perfect couple, not because they mesh well together, not because of their characteristics being well suited for each other, no, because they're both beautiful. So surely they're meant to be. He's bewildered by the mere fact that she enjoys reading, especially books without pictures. Good God! He warns her that reading is a bad look and people are starting to notice, and gives us an insight into his mind and how he believes women shouldn't read, because then they'll start getting ideas and thoughts. Jesus Christ. Yes, it is a horrendously bad look, and I'm not justifying it in any means at all. So don't you dare put words in my fucking mouth. But I would be outright lying if I said I am surprised that a man of that time period behaved like Gaston, had the beliefs of Gaston. We are talking about a man who was raised in the time period where this was seen as the way things work. And as unfortunate as it is to say, 99% of men would have been exactly the same. So does it make it any better? Absolutely not. It just makes it not surprising. In fact, in said period of time, even the women would have been fully brainwashed into believing these notions, that they couldn't achieve as much, that they couldn't do as much, that they weren't as capable. This was the world he would have grown up in since he was a little child, what he would have been taught, what he saw. So no, I am not surprised that Gaston is the way he is. But that doesn't mean he's not a prick, because he 100% is. But despite the many blotches in his character, this doesn't make him the villain. Because now I want to talk about the true, horrendous villain that is disguised in this movie as some sort of hero, as some sort of knight in shining armor, as some sort of good guy. Poor beast, this innocent man who was trapped away in his massive castle, left to wither alone in his own misery and contempt. Apart from all the other inanimate objects that could talk and walk and were too cursed. But wait right there. Let's introduce ourselves to who exactly this man, this beast is, and how he comes into contact, how he meets Belle. Taking a swift backpedal into who exactly the beast is, we learn some peculiar things about his current circumstance and why he is in the situation he's in. The curse that's been put upon him, and not only him, but all his staff as well. The beginning narration gives us a lot of insight into who exactly he is. You see, before the beast was cursed and transformed into this hideous monster,
oh hey,
and transformed into this not so hideous monster, he was a prince, selfish in nature, cruel and wicked, unkind with a lack of regard for other people's well-being. That was who he was. He knew nothing of struggle, he knew nothing of pain, he knew nothing of suffering. He was a spoilt little brat and he got whatever he wanted. The world was truly at his feet. But ultimately, his callousness and apathy towards other people would catch up to him in the form of an old woman. An old haggard woman with a rose in her hand standing at the front doorsteps of this castle. She begs the prince to let her stay in this castle for one single night, a night of warmth, away from the bitter cold of outside. In exchange for this kind gesture, she would give him a single rose, a beautiful rose. But you see, the prince was so disgusted by her haggard looks, her old face, and he shoos her away. Get out of here, old woman. I don't want you around. Likely what he was thinking in his head. But she makes sure to warn him to be careful that beauty can come in all forms. But you see, he doesn't take heed to this warning, and he tells her, "Hey, missy, fuck off, you ugly bitch." It was then that the old haggard woman transformed into a beautiful enchantress. What the frick is happening? Oh my god, she's hot. And what on earth do you know? The prince abruptly starts to feel bad, but no, not because he suddenly grew a heart, not because his conscience multiplied a multifold of times, no, because he realized he fucked up. And thus a curse was placed upon him, turning him into a hideous Okay, somewhat hideous. Okay, pretty cool looking monster. But this curse stretched past even him. Oh no, it swallowed his entire castle. All his workers were, due to his actions, cursed. Alright, Enchantress Lady, I don't get why you had to curse them as well. They didn't deserve none of this. And if I'm being very, very honest, I'm sorry. I wouldn't let a random stranger into my house either. For a rose, are you mad? But then again, I think her main issue was the fact that the prince had no love in his heart and she could sense it. He really saw her face and was like, ew, yucky yucky, get out of here, begone wench. And she turned him into a bloody furry. Now let's fast forward to the kidnapping of Belle's father.
That was supposed to be a sound effect of going through time in a time machine. You said those are the worst sound effects you've ever heard?
Well, I don't give a fuck. To make a long story short, you see, Belle's father had stumbled his way outside of the village into the creepy dark woods all by himself, all on his lonesome. He'd lost his horse. He was truly alone. And then he sees this big old castle.
Perhaps this will be a good opportunity for me to get some help,
he thinks to himself. You fool! He stumbles his way inside the castle, only to be greeted with the unanticipated arrival of this huge beastly monster right in front of him. Okay, I'm gonna stop doing sound effects, I'm sorry. I lied. Belle's father was swiftly imprisoned inside a cage by this beastly monster. Brother was really inside the gulag, and there was no means of escape. Belle takes notice of his absence and she starts to wonder, Dad, where are ya? But there were no answers. He couldn't be found in the village, and this starts to stir up a deep, deep fear. What could have happened to her father? She couldn't allow anything to happen to him. He was one of the few things she actually cared about in this village. She needed to find him because it wasn't normal that he hadn't yet returned from his ventures. So she undertakes this journey. She puts her drip on, looking like she's about to hit a photo shoot. And she makes her way out of the village into the dark, dark woods in search of her father. Yeah, Belle ends up finding the castle and she sees her dad locked up like he's just been to a fucking Diddy party. Of course, she's confused and horrified by this sight, but she bargains with the beast and she says, hey, let my daddy go and you can have me. I'll say this, she's better than me. Because if I was the one in that precarious situation, I would have been like, see you later, Dad. I ain't trying to get my booty touched. And this is where the torrent of manipulation begins. Oh, we're supposed to believe that they just end up falling in love. Belle and the beast sitting in a tree. K.I. shut up, you dirty animals. Stockholm Syndrome, has anyone ever heard of that? I bring forth to the jury that this is exactly what this is. He had her shackled and chained, imprisoned, stripping her of her rights. And I'm supposed to consider this notion that he's the good guy to be accurate? You bastardly fools.
Oh, but what about all those sweet moments they shared together?
Manipulation, have you ever heard of it? Oh, he's like the master puppeteer, controlling each and everything, convincing everyone that despite his prior horrible acts, despite the fact that he got everybody in his castle turned to bloody plates and cups and toilet brushes.
But I'm just supposed to forgive him now?
I think not.
Oh, but you're being unreasonable. He changed. He became a better person.
Fuck off, you dirty slugs. I just don't buy it. Now, I want you to think about this from Gaston's point of view, not your point of view when you've been watching Belle and the Beast get all cozy together in their web of Stockholm Syndrome. From Gaston's perspective, he's going there to save Belle from this monstrous creature that for all he knows has brainwashed her into thinking that she is in love with him. This gargantuan, towering beast with a demoralizing size discrepancy from him. But he doesn't care. He's willing to sacrifice anything and everything to try and save her, to try and save Belle. So he goes and he fights this beast and he puts his heart and soul into it.
And yes, okay, sure, the beast had an opportunity to kill him, but he didn't. And then Gaston continued by stabbing him in the back and then falling over and then dying. But once again, think of it from Gaston's perspective. How is he in the wrong for seeing this monster, a monster that shouldn't even exist, a monster that to him seems to have come from the pits of Hades? He is brave.
He is courageous, marching headfirst into the fiery pits of war against this creature that could easily disembowel him. And I meant to think that he's the bad guy? I meant to think that Gaston is the bad guy for trying to save Belle from this monstrous creature? This monstrous creature that took her prisoner? That took her father prisoner? And I meant to feel sorry for the beast. Gaston's the villain? I think not. We have all been fooled by this falsehood, this delusion of love. A consummation of two becoming one. Oh, how cute. The beast and Belle. Oh, he's no longer a beast anymore because he fell in love. Get out of here. How about Gaston? He came all the way there in hopes to save Belle from this devilish Frankenstein. But instead, he met an unforeseeable end. So moral of the story, the conclusion of this video, from all the information I've conveyed towards you, the lesson that can be learnt is that Beauty and the Beast caused the uprising of furries.
R.I.P. Gaston, R.I.P. R.I.P. Gaston, R.I.P. R.I.P. Gaston.